Greetings guys, coming at you from Casino Barcelona, located in, where else? Barcelona, Spain. Here for Party Poker Millions Grand Final. Massive event happening here in Barcelona. The main event for this event is a 10,000 euro buy-in. That one has a 10 million euro guarantee. Not gonna be playing that one. I'm only here until Thursday. This weekend is a 1K event, 1100 to be exact. That one only has $1 million guarantee on that event. So pretty similar approach to the games and the tournaments when I was in Rosvadov. Here this weekend, play some cash games first, then play the tournament, then see what after that. So today is Saturday, here till Thursday, cash games tonight. And this is a pretty nice room. This poker room here in Casino Barcelona. Multiple cash areas. There's 2 cash game areas. One of them is kind of here permanently. The other one, they sort of kicked out the nightclub and turned the nightclub floor into more cash game tables. There's also a tournament area, which we'll be investigating that tomorrow. So yeah, let's hop in there. There's a 5-5 game. There's multiple 5-5 games going. Normally they get 1-3 games here, but since there's such a demand for cash game poker, they've eliminated all of the 1-2, 1-3 euro buy-in games. The smallest buy-in is a 5-5 no limit hold'em with no maximum buy-in. So let's hope the games are pretty good here. I feel like they should be, with the smallest game being a 5-5 game. That's the one I'm gonna hop into. Let's go. Let's play some poker, Barcelona style. Let's get in there. All right guys, poker is underway here. 5-5, no limit hold'em. 5-5 euro, no limit hold'em. That's gonna equate to just a little bit over $6 blinds here. No max buy-in. I buy in for 1,200 euros. We're off and running. First interesting hand comes pretty early in the session here. This might be the second orbit here since sitting down. The hijack raises to 20, the cutoff calls. I look down at Jack 10 of clubs on the button. Happy to call here, and there are 2 more calls behind me, both of the blinds call. So 5-way flop, Jack 5-4, 2 spades, 1 diamond. Action checks for the cutoff, he bets 30. Pretty small bet, happily call here with top pair, mediocre kicker. There's 1 call behind me and all the other players fold. So 3 ways to a turn card, which comes an offsuit king. Small blind checks, and this time the cutoff bets 80 euros. Did I say dollars on the flop? 80 euros here on the turn. I think you could probably flip a coin here. I think it's probably somewhat break even between calling and folding here. He bets so small on the flop that it is possible that he could have like Jack 9 or something like that, or maybe even a worse pair. But then again, he is gonna have better hands some other percentage of the time. So another one of those spots where don't really love it, but if he had bet more on the flop and then bet more here on the turn, I could probably find a fold. But for 30 on the flop and 80 here into this spot on the turn, I'm gonna call 1 more and see what happens. Small blind folds behind me, which is good, and we're off to a river card, which is an offsuit 10. We improved to 2 pair here. This time, the cutoff checks it over to us, so feeling pretty good that we often have the best hand here. Should only lose to King Jack here. I would expect there to be a little bit more money in this pot if we were up against a set by now. And I'm definitely gonna go for value here. So put in a pretty standard bet, 210 euros. Thinks for a long time, thinks for a while, and eventually makes the call. I flip it over, and sure enough, it's good. My opponent mucks. Maybe we got a little bit lucky. It seems like we probably did get a little bit lucky there, but I'm not sure I can find a fold for those bet sizes on earlier streets. Next hand, there's a limper in the under the gun +2 position. I look down at ace queen of diamonds. Happy to raise it up here and try and isolate the limper. 20 euros to go. The button puts in a 3-bet and he makes it 60 to go. And the limper cold calls. I think you could probably make a case for putting in a 4-bet here. Ace queen suited should be towards the top of ranges here as far as my isolating versus a limper, and the button could be picking up on that. However, I really don't want to face a 5-bet with a hand as nice and pretty as ace queen suited, something that flops pretty well usually and has really good playability post flop. So happy to call here and see what develops post flop. King 10-5 rainbow with 1 diamond. The limper checks, I check, and the button checks back. Turn is a 7 of hearts, which brings the second heart. The limper checks, I check, and this time the button puts out a bet. The limper folds, and don't think we can just continue here with the ace high, even though some chance it could still be good. But I think my opponent would probably put it in a C bet on the flop if he was in fact bluffing. And since he checked back, I feel like his range is actually a little bit stronger, as backwards as that may sound. So all that being said, with ace high, no more flush draw available. Just let it go. In this hand, there is one person who missed the blinds who posts, and there are 2 limpers before I look down at Queen Jack of clubs. Happy to make this one 30 to go. Only the 2 limpers make the call. So 3 ways to a flop this time, which comes Queen 5-5 with a flush draw. Action checks over to me, and tend to put a few top pair mediocre kicker hands into my check back range because need to have some checkbacks that weight a little bit stronger. So for example, if I happen to have a hand like pocket 9s or pocket 10s here, maybe I can check back with those hands. But if those are the only kinds of hands that I'm checking back, and I never have a hand that can withstand a turn bet and river bet, then I feel like I can probably get exploited a little bit. So once I check back here on the flop, I can probably call down fairly regularly with Queen Jack here with a top pair hand. So that's my thinking when I check back the flop, and the turn comes 3 of spades, which brings a second flush draw on board. Trying to fade any overcards to the board, as well as maybe a heart. The first limper puts out a bet. He bets 60 euros. The guy in the middle folds. Pretty straightforward call here. Rivers the ace of spades, which completes the backdoor flush. My opponent checks it over to me, and I'm not too sure there's too much value in betting here. I would probably bet a flush draw on the flop. I would probably bet hearts if I had those, so it seems unlikely that my opponent would put me on busted hearts. He can't beat an ace, he can't beat a backdoor flush draw, and I would not be betting too many medium pairs here. So since we chop without queens anyway, I go ahead and check it, and my opponent shows us pocket 6s. Don't think he would be able to call a value bet there on the river anyway, so mostly a straightforward hand, but I think it's kind of interesting to you know, consider adding the occasional top pair hand into my check back range there on the flop. In this hand, the under the gun player limps. The button makes it 20 to go, and I look down at ace king of hearts from the big blinds. I think I want to put in the raise here. It's a pretty premium hand, out of position. Happy to put in a re-raise. I'm okay if we take it down, but also happy to play a 3-bet pot with a hand as good as ace king suited, even though it's out of position. So I put in a raise to 70. My opponent isn't very deep. He's only got maybe 350 effective, something like that. So I don't think I need to size too big here in my 3-bet from out of position. So 70 seems okay. The limper folds, and the button makes the call. Flop comes mostly favorable for us. Flop is Queen 10-4 with 2 hearts. So gutter ball, flush draw, 2 overcards. Happy to put out a bet here and calling it off if my opponent jams. So I bet 100. My opponent thinks for a little bit and he goes ahead and folds. So again, doesn't seem like a terrible result. He's probably gonna have some pairs there a decent amount of the time. And if we happen to fold out a hand like pocket 9s, pocket 8s, if we fold out his equity in that hand, doesn't seem like that terrible of a result, even if we're favored up against that type of a hand. Happy to just take this one down with ace high. Also very happy to get a magical flop such as nut flush draw, gutter to the nuts, 2 overcards. Yeah, we'll take that. All right, one more hand in this this casual 5-5 game. There's another position raised to 20. The small blind calls. I look down at pocket 10s in the big blinds. I pretty much always just call here. I think some people might put in a 3-bet here, but facing the early position raise, I think call seems a little bit more optimal. Since if we 3-bet and we face a 4-bet, even though we're not that deep again in this situation, I think my opponent has, again, maybe 350 euros or so. If we're getting it in here, it's often going to be a coin flip at best. So once again, happy to play post flop, and we are 3 ways to a flop, which comes all undercards. 9, 7, 3 with a flush draw. We checked to the initial raiser, who puts out a bet of 40. Small blind folds, and I go ahead and make the call. We find a pretty favorable turn on an offsuit 10. Check it over to the initial raiser again, who puts out a bet of 70 euros this time. And again, he's maybe got only about 250 remaining at this point. So since the board is starting to get pretty connected, if we flat call here and an 8 or a 6 rolls off, that can be a little bit difficult. to get the rest of the money in there, as well as a heart. But that could be another action killing card. So I think check raise seems appropriate here. If he has pocket jacks, he's probably not going to get away. Pocket queens, pocket kings, pocket aces, probably not going to get away with an overpair. And we're probably not going to get too much more value out of worse hands anyway, since those hands are often going to check back. So put in the check raise. I raise it up to 210. It's kind of like an arbitrary number. I don't really want to just say all in and potentially scare him away. Just decided 3x his amount, and my opponent goes into the tank, starts thinking for a long time. Thinking and thinking and thinking, but eventually he decides on a fold. I go ahead and show him. It's a friendly table. I show my hand and I'm leaving soon anyway, and my opponent tells me that he had a 9, which is kind of surprising since he raised under the gun with a 9. So I don't know, maybe ace-9 suited. I don't think he's going to be betting the river if we flat call the turn there. So maybe I could have just min-raised the turn and tried to get the rest of the money in there. That would have been another option. And obviously looking back, I wish I would have done that. But you know, just try to get the money in there. Didn't work out, but scooping this one anyway. Scooping this little medium-sized pot in. Alright, it's become a little bit of a tradition here to get one of these gin and tonics, kind of mandatory. A, it's just the thing you do here, and B, the size of these is like as big as my head almost. They make a healthy pour here. So, cheers. Not only to that, not only to the gin and tonic itself, but we booked a win. We booked a nice little win. Pretty straightforward poker today. No super in-depth hands that will probably generate much discussion, but no complaints about that, you know? When poker goes well and it's pretty smooth sailing throughout the session, obviously we don't win every hand, but nothing, no super tricky spots, which I guess is probably to be expected in a 5-5 game when that's the smallest game in the room. So we were in for 1,200 euros. We cash out 1,860, something like that. 1,860 euros for a profit of somewhere around 660 euros, which comes out to $811. Somewhere in that neighborhood. Not an exact number since these things fluctuate from day to day. You guys already know that part, but anyway, no complaints on that regard. So that's cool. So yeah, tournament tomorrow, $1 million guarantee, 1,100 buy-in. You're hopping into that guy. See, we're gonna fire. We'll see how that goes. And then I'm definitely gonna try and check out the 5-10 games while I'm here as well. So it's gonna be a win-win situation. Either we do well in the tournament, or we will be checking out some 5-5 games, play a little bit higher. There's such a good number of games when one of these festivals is going on. The Party Poker Festival is a big one, so good number of games, should be good action to be found. More poker to come from Party Poker Grand Millions Grand Prix Final Finale.